Well, hello, everyone. I am thrilled to introduce Maggie Isley. And Maggie is the owner of Maggie Isley's Design and Strategy. And Maggie is more than a website designer. She is a design strategist. She also provides mentoring, ideal client discovery, logos, membership sites, sales funnels, and podcasting. So, Maggie, the first question today is, how important is a website?
Vital. It is vitally important. Without a website, you could be a fly by night, who knows who you are type of person. So it establishes social credibility. With a website, you're able to display your testimonials and establish trust. It's
Okay.
the old marketing, know, like, and trust.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that information. So, Maggie, many of us are starting out in our beginning stages of business. Many of us are coaches, although we do have other members on this group. So, could you tell us what is the minimum that we need to have a viable website?
Truly, you just need 2 pages. You need really 3 if you want to have an intake form. So you need your main page, which would be like a landing page, and then you need an about section. With a main page, you're going to be looking at something with a tagline. A tagline is going to be explaining what it is that you do and the value that you bring to your clients. And that isn't just coaching, that's everybody. That's me. So your tagline will explain that. You need call to action buttons. Ideally, when you go to a website, you should have a call to action button in the very top corner, and then again right there in the middle, or you could even have it over to the side, but you want it right there above the fold. So when someone opens up their laptop or on their phone, and then you're going to want some kind of freebie or opt-in, because you do want to have an email list. So that's the other part to a website. That's me talking marketing to you, but that's the other part of a website. But the other side that you need is an about section, because again, the website's important, but they need to know who you are, who's behind the website. Anyone can throw up a website and have it be a mythical creature. They need to know who's behind it. And in an about section, you're going to kind of want to really flesh out who you are.
So, can you give us any more tips on how we write our about section and what should be included in that? A little bit more on that. Do you mind?
Absolutely. So in your about section, the best way to start off is to really have a fun headline. Let them know who you are. It needs to be cohesive with the rest of your brand. So if your brand is corporate, don't all of a sudden be like, "What's up, yo?" But like, if your brand is more fun, be like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so." And then from there, you're going to want to go and reassure them, because your ideal client needs to know they're in the right place. They need to know that they've found their solution. So in the about section, let them know, like, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I have been doing this for so and so and so many years," or whatever it is, "and I am here to help you with blah, blah, blah." And then you tell your story. So reassure first and then talk about yourself. Once they know they're in the right spot, you can then go into, I was whatever the heck you were doing. I used to be a goat farmer and now I do this. And then end with some fun facts. Like, I love true crime. Oh, I'm talking about myself. But like, I love whatever. And then you can wrap it up. Like, people, for me, it's like, I love pink. Oh, do you? Your hair's pink. I couldn't tell. So then you can end with your fun facts and a call to action again. So if this feels like a great fit, let's work together. So you're still going to have a call to action even on an about page. Don't make it pushy. Don't be gross. Don't be like, and let's do this. Like, don't be gross. Just be like, if this feels right, let's let's go ahead and make this happen. But be very authentic on an about page, because the about page is to build that know, like, and trust factor. So if you are gross and salesy on an about page, you just ruin the whole thing. So be very careful when you sell on an about page. Just keep it to a simple call to action button, because they're there to make sure that they like you and that you're the right fit.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Maggie. That's really helpful. So what mistakes, you mentioned some of the things we should not do in our about
Right.
page, along with some of the things that we should do in our about page. So what are some of the common mistakes you see being made on a website?
Selling too soon. Now, you need to have what they call checkout buttons, which would be the call to actions. You need to have those. But when you have too many, it's a problem. You want to have the two that I mentioned, which are more like, book a call, schedule a call, things like that. But when you get real aggressive, it's like going on a first date and proposing. You can't do that. Doesn't work. But if you go ahead and you start saying, you go on a first date and you ask if they want to get ice cream after, oh, that's nice. I like that. Like, all right. Yeah, I love ice cream. Unless they're lactose intolerant, then you got a problem. But you know what? You got to repel some people. So it's okay. Like, lactose intolerant, not your crowd. Not the worst thing. Another problem is being too creative. I'm super creative. However, creativity confuses. Clarity sells. So, and this one is a little high level when it comes to designers, because it is more of a design tip. But when you're building your own website, remember that the cleanest path is the easiest path. That's why ugly funnels, they convert, because people know what to do. A clear path makes sense. So when you start putting your text like sideways, but it's actually the text that people have to read, doesn't make any sense. Now, if it's text that's faded in the background, that's okay. But creativity confuses. If people have to use too much of their brain to understand the next step in your path, they're going to go somewhere else. So remember to keep your message very clear, because creativity kills your conversion.
Okay.
They're not going to keep going. Another issue is thrift, being cheap. It's one thing to be minimal. It's another thing to be cheap. So if you can't afford a professional logo because you're just starting out, and I was there too. Like, everybody starts somewhere. You can tell a difference between a minimal logo and a cheap logo. Be very mindful of that. If you cannot afford professional logo design, there is no shame in that. Hop into any text editor, type your name in a font you like, and use that. That's perfect. If you pay somebody $20, you're going to get a $20 logo. People can see that. It's a huge mistake. Do not do it. But if you just find a font you like and you type your name, beautiful. People will be like, oh, I like that font. What font was that? And then they just think it was a design choice. And you might end up using it for 10 years. You never know. So thrift is another thing. You just want to be very mindful of that, because it's easier to be minimal, because then you're not dealing with any kind of confusion, right? It's a very clear path. So the other issue is too much white space. Now you want some, you want to let things breathe. But if I have to just keep scrolling to get to the next thing because you've wasted all this space, I'm going to bounce off your page. So make sure you're conveying your message in the right amount of space on a website, and you're not wasting any text, any space, anything. And then you're pretty good. You can get it all done in 1 to 2 pages. Even with a fully formed brand, I don't recommend more than 5 pages. I myself only have like 3. You don't need many. There's not a ton to do on a website. Get them booked in, right? Get them on the phone with you.
Thank you, Maggie. So I thought of the acronym, keep it strategically simple.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
You can take it. Okay.
I love that. I'm going to write it down. Strategically
Simple.
simple.
So Maggie, we all hear about SEO. Now, we don't really understand, first, what is SEO? And
Right.
second, what insights can you offer us about SEO?
So SEO is a nightmare.
I'm so relieved.
It's a nightmare for everybody, including you. No, it really is. But it doesn't have to be. People say like, oh, you need to write your blog post thinking of SEO, so say this term 30 times. Yeah, there's nothing more authentic than saying the same terms 30 times in the same blog. I love reading posts like that. That's so, it just sounds so natural. Isn't that how you speak? So when it comes to SEO, here's what you need to know. If you're building a website, there are different headers that you select when you build a website, right? Like you've seen them, the H1 header, the H2 header, so on. You should only have an H1 header once per page. That's something you need to know for SEO. The other headers you can use multiple times. You should always have the alt text on an image. You should always have that written in. And you should write it out to tie back to your page and your information. So there's another SEO tip. SEO is search engine optimization. It's so Google can find you and rank you higher. So just those kind of little tips are the things that you'll want to know and use. Because when it comes to using, my son is leaving, so I work from home. So when it comes to using SEO, you want to keep it very realistic as far as what you want to do in your business when you are a sole proprietor or a solopreneur. You don't want to write your blog post and be like, mindfulness tips for the stressed out business owner, and then say that 15 times. No, thank you. That's the best practice, but nobody wants to read that. No one's going to click on that because no one wants to read it. So the easiest way to rank high is to make sure all of your alt text on images links back to you and what you're doing, and that all of your headings are correct, and that you do use the same terms throughout your page. So if you're using mindfulness, make sure you're using it in the right, spelled the right way, things like that. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It can be, but leave that to a professional, because it's a nightmare when you start getting into the more complicated than that. I don't even like doing it. I outsource my SEO. I won't do it. That's why you don't see it on one of my service offerings. But it's important to know the basics when you do your own website. Because otherwise you'll be like, I don't understand. Why am I on page 34 of Google? No one even looks there. And it's like, but it's my own name. Why am I not ranking for my own name? Like that's a problem. And that's why. It's because you're not doing the simple things that if you knew about them, you could do.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate that. Now, I'm not extremely techy, so I have to admit I don't know what alt text on an image means. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Of course. So I use WordPress. That's what I build in. And I use like I prefer to build with Elementor for WordPress, but even if I do something like Show It, or if I do, these are different builders. Or if I just do plain WordPress, vanilla WordPress, when you put an image in on the right-hand side, you will see something that says alt text. All you have to do is fill it in. It's literally just a little box. And then when you save it, so it'll have the caption, which if you want to caption it, feel free, but then it'll show up in your page. And then it'll say alt text. Now, the alt text doesn't show as anything except when you hover over it. So when you hover over an image, you know how sometimes it'll just say like 7432 JPEG. And you're like, what does that mean? It's because nobody filled in the alt text. So what you would want it to say, like for example, I would want it to say, Maggie Isley design, design and strategy, that kind of a thing. And that would link back to me. Or if it was like on my brand identity side, I would want it to say brand identity by Maggie Isley. And that way those terms would rank higher if someone was searching for it. And it would come up that way. Or if I was really wanting it to rank for something very specific, I could fill that in. But if you hover over it, it'll show that. So just know that don't go typing in nonsense, because if someone hovers over that image, it will show whatever you typed in. So don't go hovering, don't go typing in there like Janet is the best person in the world. And then someone hovers over and it says Janet is the best person in the world. And people are like, that's cool. Like, why does it say that? And that's what alt text is. Now that's cool to rank for, but people on your website will be like, that's weird. Why, it's a weird alt text to put in there. So that's what alt text is. And it's really easy to add. It automatically is in there. This isn't 1999 anymore where we have to do it manually. It'll populate if you're in WordPress. And I'm sure it's similar for Squarespace and things like that, because Squarespace is even easier than WordPress.
Excellent, excellent. Let me see if I have, we're all new in the marketplace. So what could you do to suggest to us things we can do to differentiate ourselves in the market?
As far as differentiation, you need to do a true deep dive on your brand and yourself and your branding identity. So this would be brand personality. This would be messaging and positioning. This would be everything that, like, I take my clients through a full brand strategy. And that is step one. So this doesn't really tie into your website much directly at this point. It's pre-work. It's everything that goes before your website. So when it comes to differentiating, you need to know your place and where you fit in and how you fill that gap. Because there's a gap in the market. There is. And you know what it is because you're in the market. And the gap that you see might not be the gap that I see. And it might not be the gap that somebody else sees, because we're all different, just like every teacher resonates different. So when you go to differentiate yourself, do that brand identity work and determine what it is that matters to you and what gap you're trying to fill. And once you find that, scream it loud and proud on your website. Make that your headline. So when you go to somebody's website, like mine says, I help purpose-driven entrepreneurs or small businesses, I think it says, who want to make a difference but want to make a buck too, because same. Like, that's what I want to do, and I only want to help people who are purpose-driven. Like, if your purpose is that you want to make money, gross. But if you want to make a difference and you want to make money, sweet. Because the more money you make, the more people you can help. And that's awesome. So you need to know what it is that you stand for and what gap you're filling before you can move on to that website. And then once you're there, that's what you need to scream on the first section of your website. And then have that call to action underneath. Because when people see it, they want to go, that's who I'm working with. That's what I want. Like, I am in the right place. And if they're not, because there are different buyers, buyer personas. So if someone looks at it and they go, like, I feel like they're talking to me, but I'm a thinker. I don't buy right away. I have to think about things and blah, blah, blah. So that's when you have the about page, and that's when you have all of the other sections of a website. And you're like, oh, okay, so now I have to have the 3 reasons why. And you can check out Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. He talks you through the hero's journey and how to build a really great brand and a really great website. The book is really fantastic, or you can go to their website and they will talk you through how to build a story brand and how you always want 3 steps to your process. It's really accessible. It's like $14 for the book. And then the website is exactly how I talked about, having your call to action up here and then another call to action in the middle with your big headline. That's all psychologically driven because it's based on when we were hunter-gatherers and we were always expecting someone to be running up over the hill behind us. So we only had so much energy. So if it took more mental energy to solve the problem in front of us, we were like, never mind, we got to go. So now he took all of that, Donald Miller took all of that and put it into marketing plans. And it's really an interesting read. And that's what I use for my landing pages. And his book is fantastic. I suggest giving that a read. And once you figure out your value proposition and your unique sales proposition, you can go in there and you can create that landing page. Is it going to be as beautiful as a designer would do? Maybe that's a hidden talent you don't know about. Give it a shot. See what happens. You don't know. You don't know what you're great at until you give it a try. And then if it's not up to what you want, okay, then do some work, manifest that money, and hire somebody later. We don't all start exactly where we want to be. That's not how it works. So once you know your differentiating factor, you can build an amazing site.
So Maggie, what I get is that taking these tips and tools you've given us, which are invaluable, we can all create a website. Who cares if it's not perfect? We're all getting started. We've all been at the beginning. Take massive imperfect action, put it up, earn some money, and then hire someone like you to get a full-blown, excellently done website if we discover that we don't have that hidden talent. But we might find out we do have the hidden talent.
Yep. Yeah, you may. Absolutely. I agree 110% with that. You may find out, or you may find out that your okay site, the okay site that you do, converts perfectly. And you're like, I'm just going to keep putting this off. Like, I'm going to invest in my education. I'm going to invest in my education because this thing it's converting fine. I don't need to redo it. And that's great too.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to invest in a top-notch website if it converts fine. Spend your money where you get the most bang for your buck. It's that easy. And no designer, if somebody tells you that you need to spend the money with them, or you need to put it on a credit card, or you need to do something like that, run away, because that's gross. And if you should never need to go into debt for a website. That's grotesque. So yeah, if your website is converting, then you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Keep it going. If it's not converting, then you need to look at the conversions. It's probably not the design, it's the messaging. It's the strategy. The strategy matters more than the design.
That's good to know.
Yes,
That's good
the
to know.
strategy matters more. That's why I do both, and the strategy matters more. So I actually have, and I'm not trying to sell you guys, but I have a strategy workbook that I recommend. It's on shop.maggieisley.com. I have strategy workbooks. So I have a branding one and a website one. And I strongly recommend doing the strategy side of things. So that's number one. And that strategy workbooks, like if you buy them and then you work with me later, I credit your account for the cost of them, just FYI. But they are on there, and they're completely fillable online, so you don't have to waste paper. If you are somebody who likes to print, they print great too, because I don't have them in a ton of color. Just don't print the pages, the chapter pages, because those are in color, but the rest aren't. And then I have a branding one though, so that way if you're not clear on your value prop and you're not clear on all that, I don't have an offer one yet, but that's coming. So your signature offer one will be coming soon. And it's very important. There's two different website ones, by the way. There's one if you're going to be planning to work with a designer, and one if you're going to do it on your own. So make sure if you do pick up a website one, that you pick up the right one. Just read them. You'll be able to see which one's which. It's pretty easy. But there's also some freebies if you go to my website. There's one on standing out and that kind of thing, like making sure that you understand your passion appropriately. And then there's another one on sourcing the right images and making sure that you have the right images for your website. So I got all kinds of free stuff, like what you need. Just ask. Just ask. I will share my freely. I come from an abundance mindset. Anything you need to know, I will tell you. And if I have a worksheet on it, I will give it to you. Just tell me what you need.
Excellent. So I'm going to put your link to your website in the comments so that people can access that easily. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. So I believe that's all the questions I have today. And I want to thank you so much, Maggie, for taking the time to join us and to give us this really great information to get us all started.
Well, thank you for having me and asking me to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm so glad to know you, Janet. I can't even tell you.
Ditto. I just really appreciate you in my life, and what a fun person you are. And
right?
Yeah.
You are just a ball of personality. So I'm so glad to know you.
Thank you very much. So, okay, well, I believe that that was all the questions that I had and others in the group had. You may inspire more. I know you've definitely given us stuff to work with, things to think about, to get our ideas down on paper, gain clarity on our branding, all of that to create our own website. So thank you very much.
No problem. If anyone has any questions, leave them in the comments. I am in the group.
Okay.
So feel free to ask me any questions and I will gladly answer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And they can just preface it with Maggie so that
Yes,
you'll get
tag me.
flagged. Tag you. Yeah.
Tag me so that way I know you're talking to me. Because otherwise, I'll never see it. I'll never see it. But if you tag me, I will see it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. And we will have this posted today sometime. And I will talk to you later, Maggie. Bye.
Bye.